Thank the Secretary of State for prior sight of his statement. Madam Deputy Speaker, it is becoming increasingly difficult to tell whether the Secretary of State is at the dispatch box as the Energy Secretary or rehearsing for a future move to perhaps number 11. Once again, the Secretary of State is distracted by personal ambition than the bleak reality families are facing across the country with crippling energy bills. Today's announcement is being sold as a bold shift of power to local communities. But cutting through the fluff, this plan does not make electricity cheaper, and it does not offer value for the taxpayer. This plan does nothing to reduce wholesale prices, nothing to fix the grid connection backlog, nothing to tackle the structural costs. Instead, the government are asking taxpayers to fund small-scale projects that will optimistically provide minor reductions in costs for a few local buildings, whilst leaving families and businesses across this country still paying higher prices. There are no guarantees that the £1 billion committed through the Great British Energy Scheme will deliver lower bills. No clear test of value for money, and no convincing explanation of why subsidising small piecemeal projects offers a better return for taxpayers than backing affordable, large-scale nuclear generation that would genuinely move the dial. Spread thinly across the country over several years and funnelled through yet another Whitehall-controlled body, this is not a serious intervention. It is a press release masquerading as an energy strategy. Madam Deputy Speaker, alongside the local power plan, the results of allocation round 7 this morning raise serious questions that the Secretary of State has yet to answer. In the government's own press release, they rely on internal analysis to claim that additional solar and onshore wind procured through AR7 could lower bills in the early 2030s. But that analysis has not been published. It looks only at a narrow scenario, excludes wider system costs, and does not give a full picture of future bill levels. So if ministers are so confident in their figures, why won't they release the full impact assessment? What exactly is the Secretary of State hiding? AR7 also underlines the direction of travel under this government. Longer contracts, higher strike prices, and greater risk locked in for bill payers. The extension of contracts for difference from 15 to 20 years means households will be tied into paying these costs for even longer, regardless of whether circumstances change. At the same time, the government has relaxed planning requirements so some offshore wind projects can bid before planning consent has even been secured. All of this points to the root problem. Electricity prices are already too high, and the policies being pursued by this government are only pushing them higher. Doubling down on carbon taxes and loading more expensive wind and solar onto a system that is not ready risks driving up costs for both households and industry, making British business less competitive and leaving families to pick up the bill. Families are being asked to pay more, not less. Labour promised to cut energy bills by £300. Instead, bills have risen by £190 since they came into power. That is the reality behind their rhetoric, and that is the reality that every family up and down the land understands as they open their energy bills. And at the centre of all of this sits Great British Energy, an £8 billion taxpayer-funded quango that was meant to lower bills for everyone. So far, all we have is the promise of a highly paid chief executive, a new board and more bureaucracy. Why do we need another expensive state body to do what the market and existing institutions should already be delivering? And that is the fundamental difference in approach. Our cheap power plan focuses on bringing down the underlying cost of electricity, saving the public sector and everyone else vastly more in the process, and doing so without costing taxpayers a penny. This government is more focused on its own internal politics than on delivering the one thing people need: energy that is reliable, abundant and, above all, affordable for all of our constituents.